welcome everyone to Red Suit Interviews, and we are joined by the man, the myth, the absolute legend, Mr. Clint1717. How are you today, sir?
You know what? Just really enjoying life, Ryan, to the fullest extent allowable by the state of Indiana. How are you?
I'm great. So, for those who don't know who you are, which is, I don't know who doesn't know you
A
right
lot
now,
of people.
because they're fucking dipshits if they don't know you right now. Who are you, and what do you do?
My name is Clint. I'm a just chatter on the internet. I basically just go on here and talk to people about stories and things that have had happened to me in my life. My buddy told me that I should do the Raj Patel show, so I looked into that, got on it, and then everything from there has just been kind of a fucking whirlwind, man, to be honest with you. I'm a pretty normal guy, but I guess people like me talking on the internet.
Fair enough. Yeah, because the Raj Patel, that's sort of like probably your first sort of like big shoot up with people. Um, how did that all initially come about? Like, did you approach, like, how did you get that sort of organized and set up?
I had no idea who he was. I was just streaming to like 25 people, and these kids came into my chat one day. They're my mods now, but they came into my chat one day and they're like, dude, you are fucking insane, man. You need to get on to Raj Patel. I was like, I don't know who the fuck that is. And they sent me a link to a YouTube video. I checked it out a little bit, and then from there, I did an interview with one of the producers, and that was right when King of the Hill was getting axed, like the men's King of the Hill. And so I had to wait like a month and a half or something for this Rajjchelorette shit that he's got going on now, because that's kind of like the feeder league for new guys, is the Rajjchelorette show that he's got going on. And so in that month, I just kind of did my own thing, and I knew how I was gonna present myself. And I watched a bunch of shit on the other just chatters, and I was like, okay, let's just do it then. And so that's kind of how I got into it. I had no idea whether it was gonna go well or not well, and then we jumped into it. I got a shitload of followers, a bunch of people hitting me up like every day nonstop after that, and so everything's been going cool since then.
Yeah, I just saw you just came off from 1,000 viewers, coming from 25. I think that's a pretty good incline with people now interested in who you are.
Yeah, I've always had an interesting perspective on this. I'm pretty new to the game as far as Twitch goes. Like right now, I've got about, I don't know, 17 DMs from people going, Clint, what the fuck are you doing? Why did you just end your fucking stream to do this fucking interview with? We don't know who this person is. I was like, guys, I'm a man of my word, and honestly, it's been like 10% effort so far. I like to stay humble, but I haven't really applied myself as well as I'd like to yet. I've had 2 jobs through this whole thing. I just recently quit my first job so I could focus more on this. But I think that, if I put my mind to it, I feel like I can be pretty successful on this platform regardless of my decision making on things. So that's just kind of how I've always presented myself with this Twitch shit. It's still early onset stages, but I guess following that up, the way I got into it, my ex girlfriend was a Twitch streamer, and she was like, well, she's a hot girl, so I mean, she gets a decent chunk of views no matter what her content is. Like I'm talking like 40, 50 views. It's kind of like a preset for good looking women, right?
Yeah.
And so she always used to give me a bunch of shit about how she knew what I should do to be funny or not funny, and how she knew how to be successful on Twitch and I didn't. And one of the last things before we broke up, I remember her saying, Clint, nobody thinks you're funny. So I was like, all right, let's fucking find out then, I guess. So this has just kind of been like a fuck you to her the whole way through.
Is this the one that
So
stabbed you?
yes, one and the same. We didn't break up because she stabbed me. I thought that was kind of hot, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, I think this also gets into a more interesting thing. Is about sort of how you present yourself on Twitch. Like, to you, how much of it is sort of like, I guess like a better word, your character on Twitch, and how much of it is like genuinely you? Because you have your story of Travis who grew gills. Now, obviously, that one's true, but like, which ones are like the one? Like, how much does it like sway between you really and sort of this character you sort of put on?
I think every good character in the history of comedy has kind of been an exaggerated version of a person who's actually playing the character. If you look at Seinfeld, I think that's a prime example of a television show that would not have worked with anyone else. It was just a greatly exaggerated version of the characters on the cast. for me personally, I do live in Indiana. I do live in the middle of fucking nowhere. I'm surrounded by hillbillies every single day. That is my existence. By contrast, I was always very big into video games and stuff. So I was kind of, people didn't really understand me growing up very much because they don't like video games and shit like that. Major pop culture shit around here. It's always just kind of like very country rednecky. And I've always kind of played on that as being a strange thing. And I've always noticed that kind of poking fun at that type of thing is humorous to me, at least. And I thought it would be interesting on Twitch, especially with Twitch being as progressive a left-wing platform as I perceive it to be, for me to be like this super K-Kona guy that just comes on. And obviously people have a generic stereotype for people that are from a trailer park who are Caucasians living in the middle of nowhere, United States of America. So I just wanted to come on here and like be super respectful to everybody, but at the same time just be like super, super outwardly funny and kind of play on the stereotypes a little bit, the more humorous stereotypes of being a trailer trash white guy from the middle of America.
Yeah, fair enough. I can see that sort of where you're coming from in there, especially how you present yourself. And I guess sort of even when you're trying to like run the line of like humor and stuff, has there been anything that you sort of put out there on stream that you're like, you know what, I didn't really want to do that? Or has there been anything that you sort of regretted doing while streaming, or has it all been, you've been really confident with it all?
No, I mean, look, dude, I'll be honest. The first time that I was on the Raj Patel show, I had a fuck doll sitting right next to me. So I like just because I thought it was funny. For what I don't know. Have you ever seen that movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah.
So he falls in love with an AI, right?
Hmm.
And me and my buddies, we've always thought that that was the funniest shit ever, like the synthetic type shit, you know? We've always just got a killer laugh out of that. So when I bought the sex doll, I did it for Snapchat and stuff, right? Just to send like Snapchat stories. So I would like rehearse like romance scenes from famous romance movies, but with her, and then send them out to my buddies. Well, as I got into this Twitch shit a little bit, I saw this kid named Wes, by the way, who's a good friend of mine now, but at the time he didn't know who I was. Nobody knew who I was. And he had an open Snapchat, so I started sending him Snapchats periodically. And one day he just hit me up and he's like, "Hey, this is crazy random, but I'd love for you to be on my Drunk DGen cast." He gets 400 or 500 viewers because I think you are going to be hilarious. And so that I went on there, and the reception was like super overwhelmingly positive. So at that point, I was like, well, shit, I think I can make this work. But as far as your question goes, no, I don't really have any regrets about anything that I do on stream because outside of the few times that I've been like so intoxicated that I don't even know what I'm doing, which is normally people are pretty good about getting me off streams. Anytime that I'm on a stream, I'm a pretty reasonable guy, but I don't really feel shame for the things I'm doing because I'm doing them all just to make people laugh. I don't really give a fuck. You know what I mean?
I get what you mean, yeah. And I guess that sort of maybe even plays into sort of thing. Like, do you even worry about, because with Twitch and especially online, you sort of have this disconnect between sort of like real life and online life. Does it ever sort of, do you ever wonder if those things might actually eventually mix with it? Or like, does it worry you that maybe like how people will perceive you in real life will be influenced by your Twitch thing? And has there been anything like that? Has there been any impact in your real life from what you do on Twitch?
No, I mean nobody around here really understands what Twitch is anyway. I've had like a couple of interactions just based off the Rajj show, but they were all positive. The thing about me is my strategy for all this. I would like to at some point settle down and not have to be like feeling all this pressure all the time. Every time I go on camera, like it's kill or be killed pretty much. The sense of it is because nobody knows who the fuck you are. You're still new. You're trying to make an impression on people. My biggest thing is to bring as much energy and as much humor as I can so that more people are interested in knowing more about who I am. And then maybe on my own streams, I can open up to them a little bit more, kind of show them a little bit more about who I actually am while still playing on this role that I have. And then eventually getting over to video games like Classic WoW's coming out. I really want to play that on stream, but I've got to build a fan base first. So it's right now it's really important that I just go out there and just go balls out every single time.
Okay. And so you're talking about sort of even just there about sort of wanting to do Classic WoW. Is there any other directions where you want to take this stream? Like especially now that you're trying to find more time and go up from what you said like 10% effort into it. Like what are the things that you're possibly looking to do in the future to introduce you into your stream?
Yeah, well, for my own selfish reasons, I want to obviously progress into gaming and doing things that I actually enjoy doing on the streams instead of doing that. Like, I don't enjoy talk shows. I don't like doing that shit, but I just do it because it maximizes your exposure. You know what I mean? But eventually, I'd love to be able to get to a point where I can actually, and this is gonna sound fucking crazy, but I'd love to be able to help people out, that are in my community, people that are maybe struggling with their own shit. Maybe my humor can help them. Maybe even I can sit down with them one on one, have a conversation with them, see if I can help them out with some of their problems in life. Just kind of have an outlet there for my community to be able to come to me with issues that they're facing, and really just be a place where people can just chill the fuck out, sit down and laugh. That's kind of my end game with this, is just making people laugh.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that's actually quite like a unique sort of thing, because I know like a lot of people, especially, sort of have this idea of like get big, blow up, just fuck around with the talk shows and things. But it's kind of interesting that you said you don't enjoy that as much. Why is that?
The talk shows are very high pressure for guys like me. Guys like John Zerka, guys like Slicker not so much anymore. He's big enough now that it doesn't really matter. But you're only as good as your last performance. When you're guys like me, whose entire reputation is built around the Raj Patel community, so it's just one screw up away from you basically being deplatformed, if you want to phrase it that way, where people don't give a fuck anymore. You know what I mean? So every single time you go out there, you absolutely got to give it your best 100% of the time, or you're going to get clowned by somebody. I don't particularly enjoy meeting a lot of these people. A lot of them I disagree with in a lot of different ways. So that's like, I love my friends. I have a really solid group of friends that I love spending time with, most of which don't stream at all. Wes is one of the few that I really enjoy spending time with, that I can actually hang out with on stream, because he actually streams as well. But for the most part, these weekend streams and everything, I don't want to spend all my time hanging out with these people I don't really know, who are obviously just in it for clout, who are literally there from a business standpoint, which I get why they're doing it that way, and I respect that. But at the same time, like, it's kind of a paper thin way to live your life, to be hanging out with other people that are all just trying to basically make money. It's just kind of lame.
No, I get what you mean, and like, yeah, it is like an interesting thing, and like, I can understand totally where you're coming from, especially like there's a lot of people who are doing it because it's frankly their business, and then you have then there's sort of characters like you as well at the same time, like you and the John Zerker as well, who are in it. It's sort of like this I haven't really ever seen sort of anything like it like really happen on Twitch as well, and I think do you think we're sort of be going into this direction where sort of like streamers like you, John Zerker, and other figures like that are starting to come more on the rise?
I think we're in a very interesting time with the just chatting section. I'm not real privy to the history of IRL streaming on Twitch because I'm still pretty new to it. But from what I'm seeing, the landscape that Rajj is building specifically is directed towards reality television, and I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you look at any big reality TV show over the last since ever on TV, how cool would it have been to see it actually playing out live and being able to interact in the chat? I always cite this. Jersey Shore was a super popular reality TV show in the United States about 8 to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And there's always a scene that sticks out in my head. Mike, the Situation, he headbutts a wall when him and Ronnie, one of the other guys from the show, are about to get into a fist fight. And I'm just thinking, like, how crazy would that have been to be in a chat and be able to interact with them as they're about to engage, with each other. So I think it's pretty obvious at this point the direction is heading towards live reality television. So it's really interesting what Rajj has built so far.
Yeah, it is.
But it's still very new too. It's still very new. So like there's a lot of opportunities for guys like me, guys like John Zerker, to just come on there, just say whatever the fuck we want, and people respond to it. You know what I mean? Just throw something different out there instead of just, hi, my name's Clint. I'm a steel worker. I work at a strip club as a bouncer part-time. You know what I mean? Just be interested.
And do you have much contact with like John Zerker as well? Like, do you guys sort of talk very much about it? And
Me and John have open DMs. We have conversations from time to time. We're not like we're friends for sure, but we're not like close buddies or anything
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. I think um he's a cool guy. He's definitely somebody that I've watched in the past and been like, okay, so this guy's done this. This has been successful. I bet you I can do this also and kind of play this role also and be successful with it.
It's all, yeah. And so, would you say there's like with like a lot of the people who you interact with on stream, like even like with Wes and John Zerk and stuff like that, do you see that they have like a major? Not trying to be like, oh, they're fake or anything like that, but is there like obviously it's gonna be a bit different, like, but is there a difference like when you sort of catch them, sort of just DMing them and that sort of thing, or when you're on live with them? Is that do you feel like there's a difference between them?
I think it depends on the person. I think to an extent, everybody's a little bit different off
Yeah,
of stream than they are on stream for sure. Because let's face it, I've always said this. This is a real simple equation: exposure, content, exposure, content. Raj has the exposure, so you better bring the content, right? It's a straight trade. So obviously, we're not as crazy and fucking out of our minds off stream as we are on stream, but at the same time, at its core, most of these people I think are who you see on that screen. They're just exaggerated versions of who you see.
no, I get that. I get that totally. Um, yeah, especially like because even when you've seen like hell, like even when you watch like one of the streamers, um, just by themselves, not stream, and then you see them on like Raj Patel, like they like sometimes they just like radicalize quite like much like their content and try and go above and beyond to try and get that sort of exposure with it all. And with Twitch community as a whole, how would you describe sort of it, like especially like maybe even just your community or the thing that you've seen, like how would you describe the Twitch ecosystem as from what you see?
It's crazy. It's fucking crazy, man. It's different. It's a lot different than real life, obviously. I think most of the people that frequent Twitch in 2019, it's opened up so much from what it used to be, but still it kind of favors heavily towards the people that are kind of social outcasts who maybe have an anxiety disorder or a social disorder of some kind. So you kind of get a lot of the same personalities where it's just it's kind of a an outlet for people to build a community without having to like do too much interacting with actual other human beings. uh if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I
So
get
it's
you.
definitely a lot different than real life, but at the same time it's super cool to see. Like I meet so many cool interesting people every single day that I would never have an opportunity to meet otherwise.
No, that's true, and I totally yeah. That's a really that's really interesting from what you said there. And each time, like, how much preparation do you have to put in uh, for when you set up a stream? Do you pretty much just sort of sit down, turn on the stream, and let's go, or is it? Do you have like a sort of thing? Do you like run through sort of like what you want to get through with the stream? Is there anything that you sort of do in preparation for before going live?
I would say that it's like 70% improv, 30% scripted. So anytime that I'm watching a Twitch stream, the reason that I'm watching it 90% of the time is because I'm trying to see what the people on stream are doing and saying. Okay. I just like, if I'm going to watch something, I'm going to watch something on HBO or on Netflix, some like professional grade show for entertainment. When I'm on Twitch, I'm watching people to try and learn anything that I can about them, because chances are at some point you're going to be on a stream in front of 25,000 people with them and they're going to be trying to embarrass you in front of 25,000 people. So you've got to have some semblance, of an idea of who they are and what they're all about. And that's kind of how you create what you would call scripted content. Now with Raj's show specifically, it's very hard to do anything script wise because none of the topics are released early. Most of the time, your cast list is not released early, so you really don't know who you're going to be seeing on there. So you just got to do your best to do your homework, knowing who these characters, these different characters that you might see are. And if you do happen to run into them, then maybe have something in the back of your head. Hey, I can say this about them. And then obviously on like the dating shows and stuff, that you have questions that are like basically manufactured questions that you're going to see every single time. So if you know what to say ahead of time, it's very helpful. But I will say that's dangerous too, because you got to always be creating new concepts. I don't know how many times now I've talked at length about the barbecue poker story and stuff. I've got to ditch that and come up with some new shit, because people have heard it enough times now that it's becoming a little bit too repetitive, and you always want to stay ahead of the curve with that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean, especially with trying to keep it fresh and stuff. And like a lot of those stories, like it's like I'll be sitting there on stream and you sort of just pipe in every now and then, and like big reason why I wanted to interview today is you're probably like one of my favorite people to listen to, especially on the Rajj Royale. It's just constant creativity. It's just this constant sort of thing that I'm expecting from you as well from it. This like excitement that I'm really excited to hear what you have to say next, and it's really interesting whenever you're on. I always get excited to listen to you. But has Hassan given you the $400 yet?
No, Hassan's never given me $400, and I'll be honest with you, I don't ever expect him to give me $400. That was just going into that show. I knew that there was going to be only one way for me to make it anywhere, because I really hadn't built anything remotely close to what you would call a community at that point. I knew that the cheap and easy way to do it would be to trigger Hassan in some way. And so my idea was I was going to come at his redistribution of wealth concept a little bit, and then maybe take him with a serious debate, the FaZe Clan thing, show him that maybe I'm a little bit more than just meets the eye, and then throw something completely ridiculous at him, hope he's not paying enough attention to it, that it sticks on a topic that he definitely disagrees with, such as anti-vax. That was just a strategy I used. I'm not going to hit the guy up and say, hey, give me $400 or any of that lame shit. Although, if he wants to pay me $400 a month, I wouldn't decline it.
Yeah. No, that was a really interesting stream, especially, is because, like, everything you just said there, like, very much happened in that stream. It was sort of like, that you caught him very much off guard with the vaccination thing, and he got pretty triggered over it immediately without even listening to what you said. That was a great moment to watch. I shared that one around to a lot of the people I know, and they thought it was fantastic. And was your story with Travis, like, was that just sort of thought up on the spot, or was it something that you sort of came in pre-prepared with?
I was driving to the gas station to grab some energy drinks probably 15 minutes before I was supposed to be there for the stream, and for some reason in my head, I knew Mia Malkova. I had heard that she was an anti-vaxxer, and I knew that that was a really polarizing topic to discuss, so I was like, anti-vaxxing, that's a fucking controversial issue, huh? I'm going to look like an idiot if I say that I am against vaccinating your kid, but it might generate a level of interest if I do so in a way that's clearly trolling. But I've got to be able to just kind of disguise it a little bit and throw it out quick, so maybe the chat will pull it in and maybe he won't recognize what's going on with it. I just was trying to trap it. That's probably the best way to do things on those types of shows, is to take the opposing view but make it a clear meme the whole way through, so that everybody feels like they're in on the joke, and see if you can just pull a reaction off of it. It's tricky, but that's the best way to do it.
No, and like you're very good at it. It's quite great. I'll get into, like, when I'm watching, and I'll get into, like, a lull, like, oh, we're just gonna have a discussion, and then, like, bang, Trent has gills, all right, or Travis has gills, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, here we go. But with the Rajj Royale and which one do you prefer doing? Do you prefer doing the Rajjchelorette or the Rajj Royale?
I don't really like doing either of them, to be honest with you, just because from the onset, I've always wanted to be the Rajjchelorette. It's hard to do unless you've got a lot of traction. But I feel like I'm at my best when I'm at the center. If that makes sense. Like, if they put a vocal point on me, because I'm not, like, if I absolutely have to, I'll try to interject, but I really don't want to interrupt people and just be obnoxious. You know what I mean? I'd like it to
Mm.
be more of an organized format because otherwise it just becomes noise. And so a show like the Rajjchelorette, like I could really take off with that. I feel like and make it something special. But these other shows, the Royale specifically is boring to me because I don't. It's not boring. I wouldn't say it's boring to me, but it's something that it's not. I'm not used to because those topics, it's very hard to pull humor out of them. You got to work really hard to get humor out of them.
Mm.
So I'd probably, I guess, if I have to pick one, it'd be the Rajjchelorette, just because the easiest thing for me to do is just roast people. This just comes the easiest to me, and that's essentially what the Rajjchelorette has turned into, is just a giant roast off. So
No, that is a very common thing that happens on that show. And what was I going to say? Do you think you'll be able to get a be the Rajshilla anytime soon? Has there been any talks of that? Have you sort of put anything out in the water?
I think that I'm on the right track to be there. I know Raj has talked in his Discord about doing like a dual Rajshler thing with maybe something like interesting combos, like for instance, Mizkif and Erob competing on the same Rajshlerette show where they're both trying to figure out which girls are there for the one of them, which girls are there for the other one, simultaneously trying to go back and forth with each other. I know he's mentioned something about me and Zerka doing something like that, which I think would be an incredible show, and I'd love to do it. But it's nothing's like concrete or anything. And I honestly, I'm so new on the Raj scene anyway. I'm just thankful that my name's even being brought up.
No, that's true. Um, that sounds like an awesome idea. But like, yeah, like you say, you knew, but especially like with the new Katie Tron stream that you did, what was it? The celebrity, not Royale. What was it called again? The
It was called the E Celebrity Death
E
Match.
Celebrity Deathmatch. Like, hell, like people like she's already had you on there as well. And how was that, by the way? Because I haven't seen it yet. Because just didn't watch it live.
Uh, it was the first time that they'd ever tried anything like that. And I think it was successful for its first time. It was definitely an interesting format. I think there's a lot of room for improvement there. There was some dead space. There was some arguments that were clearly just outside the realm of anybody's wheelhouse other than maybe one or two people on the show, which you kind of anticipate that when you've got guys like Destiny and Hassan whose literal professions revolve around debating political ideas. So for people like me in Candyland, it's harder to interject on certain things when they're going off about socialism and Karl Marx and all this other crazy shit. But for the most part, I think it was a pretty successful show, and they've got to work out their point system and figure out what matters and what doesn't matter. But outside of that, I think it was great, and I think she's definitely on the right track, and I hope everything works out really well for them because two of the people that are on her production team, Frank and Bob, are good friends of mine, and I really like those guys, so I'd love to see them all succeed.
Yeah. I'll probably when it comes out, I might just go back and watch the VOD of it. But I'm excited to watch it because there'll probably be some good content in it. Is there anything for people who haven't seen it? Anything they should look out for while watching it?
Anything they should look out for? I don't know, man. I don't know. It was no, just go watch it. It was good. I think it was good anyway. It felt good. It felt like it was coming through pretty good. It was an interesting experience for sure, and a lot of it was set up so that the way they set it up is they wanted basically the questions to be specifically tailored for two people at a time. So, a quick example would be right off the rip, they gave me and Candyland math problem to solve because I'm from a trailer park. Candyland, the meme is 10 IQ. They gave us a math problem to solve, and you can kind of generate some really good content going back and forth off that. And they did that with all of the cast. I mean, everybody down to the last question, which was Hassan and Destiny debating socialism versus a capitalist economy. Everything was kind of tailor made to get two specific cast members engaging with each other. So you kind of force everybody to play ball at that point, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to hear that. Did you beat Candy with the math question, or is that spoiler territory?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can say it. Yeah, I beat her. I beat her with the math question. Yeah.
Oh, good. That would have been a sad moment. Um, but even with the e-celebrity deathmatch and the Raj show, how like I guess for people who don't really sort of pay attention or like not very much engrossed in the community of it, how much are you sort of dealing with sort of like the producers behind the scenes? Like how much of an impact do these like producers have on the show ultimately, or is it like mainly sort of Raj and his sort of creative vision, or is it more Katie and sort of what she wants?
It's very interesting how behind the scenes works, specifically with Raj. Claw on Twitch was one of his main producers for a long time. Well, I think almost a full year, which is a huge amount of time in Twitch time. And he just recently stepped down from his position on the Rajcast. But like for me personally, as a guy who goes on the show, I think that the producers do like a really great job of segueing what the show's about and like explaining to people what they need to do on the show, what they don't need to do, how they need to present themselves, how they don't need to present themselves, and explaining to the best of their abilities what to expect when you get there. And they take the time to talk with you behind the scenes. Guys like Goolsby, Gondok, and obviously Claw for me. They really took a lot of time out of their days to sit down and explain things. So I think they deserve a lot of credit for the way the shows get set up, because without them, I think it would be a little bit too much for one person to handle, trying to get all the right personalities together. Because it's not everybody always. I see people all the time. They say just get Clint, Zerka, Slicker, Bruce, all these toxic motherfuckers on the same show, but it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work like that, because it's a shit show at that point, right? So they got to have the right blend of people with the right attitudes to make these shows successful. And I think Raj could do it on his own, but I think he's very thankful that he has the producers that he has, because I think they all do a really good job for him. And the other cool thing about having producers on shows like that is the community that's really big fans of the shows then gets to see in a much more personal space the characters and stuff interacting with each other on these producers' respective streams. So rather than being in a chat with 25,000 people, you could be in a chat in Gondox for like say 400, and you can see them interacting with, like, you could see me and Zerk on there just having a conversation post show or something. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
that's a really cool concept for people that are big fans of the Raj stuff.
No, yeah, and I think like yeah, definitely those producers do like it's obvious like the work they put in, especially like balancing out the personalities, etc. Um, it's like it's obvious that a lot of preparation goes into it because, like you said, like if you just had the toxic people like 24/7, just like all in it together, it's just going to be a shit show 24/7. Um, but who would be with like who would be sort of has there been anyone that you sort of noticed that you really really want to collaborate with on stream or do like some content for? Has there been anyone out there at the moment that you haven't really done anything with and you really want to look out and start doing something with someone?
Yeah, I'm always down with Wes. He gave me my start. He's super awesome. We have a lot of fun. We just get drunk as fuck and just say random shit together on his stream all the time. He's got some really cool shows, like the Pleb Royale, for instance, is awesome. You can literally just go on there and just be literally somebody from the chat can just hit join up. You can be just a total random first time ever on Twitch, and then we'll just do a quick interview and put you into basically a degenerate level of Raj Royale type podcast with a bunch of other degenerate kids, which is a lot of fun for us. Outside of that, the two guys nobody knows, but they should know, like guys like Bob and guys like Frank in a Box. You've seen Frank as Cat Cam 69 and as Cool Teen 18. Those two guys, I love them. They're hilarious. They're super fun to work with. Any chance I can get to be on screen with them, I think is positive for me, because even though people don't know who the fuck they are, they're, in my opinion, the funniest guys on the platform. So those guys would be cool. And then obviously, I think me and Zerka at some point, I'm sure we'll come together and have a decent collab, because we haven't really had a fair shake at it yet. So
Oh, and that'd be a really good thing to watch. And yeah, well, hell, I might even have a go at that with the Wes thing. See if I can get some radio clout going in there. But with your sort of streaming and sort of with your real life and even working with your steel work, etc., is there a point where you're sort of going to? Do you ever see streaming to try and be sort of like the main thing you do, or do you always just sort of want it just to be part of your life but never sort of take over fully?
no, I want so badly for it to be like a full-time thing, because I feel like if it was a full-time thing, I could give so much more back to the people that really want to watch me, you know? And I also, from a mental standpoint, just wish I could do it, because it's exhausting, dude. I'll give you my rundown from this. So Friday night, what the fuck? Okay, so Friday night, Wes had a shoot your shot stream with QT Cinderella. I promised him I'd go on there and do that, so I did that spot. Then I had my own stream. We were doing Pleb Royale recruitment, and then in the morning, I had to prep for Rajj. And then after the Rajj show, Razor wanted me on his show. Then today, Casey prep in the morning, did the Casey stream. Then I did my own stream real briefly, and then I realized, oh shit, I have this radio interview thing to do. I gotta go do that now too. So this has been my weekend. Like tomorrow, I go back to work, my regular job, 40 hours a week, and I literally haven't had a break all weekend. Like I'm exhausted right now, to be honest with you. So I'm really hoping, if I keep doing good things and I keep working hard at it, then maybe I could just call it a full-time thing. And I think if I could, that I could really do a lot of big things with the community that wants to support me.
No, no, that's really good to hear, and I really hope that you can get to that point, with it all. And what has been your favorite thing so far? Like, what's been your favorite moment across everything you've done on Twitch? What's the thing that stands out the most for you?
I would say that my favorite moment so far was, I just referenced it as a pregame lobby. I don't know why, but the Rajj shows, usually it takes them about an hour to start, but you got to be there for that hour and appear in. And you get to know people and interact with them for that hour, right? And the first time that we did a Rajj show is the Rajjchelorette featuring QT Cinderella, and she's not quite as a big name streamer as they normally pull on there either. So we had a lot of new faces there, and a lot of those new faces had already built little rivalries of their own, just being on small streams, trying to make their way up to there. And so nobody knew who any of us were. And I remember it just feeling like you were about to go into the Roman Coliseum and do battle. Like we had, I think Slicker was probably the biggest name guy we had on there. And between him and Zerka, they're telling you, hey, I'm about to embarrass you in front of 30,000 people. You might as well just leave now, bitch. Like, just go. And like, it was really fucking nerve wracking. And it was fun, man. It was fun. It got your blood pumping. Everybody I talked to after that stream said the same thing. That was like, you can't replicate that experience ever. Even when like the Royale that I did well on, like just sitting in that lobby before the Royale, everybody was very friendly, super nice, super cool, just super cordial to each other. It wasn't like that the first time. It was the most toxic shit that I've ever. Actually, Rajj had to come in midway through and say, "Hey, save it for the stream, you fucking morons," because we were just going at each other the whole time. And that was probably that was the highlight. I think for me was just that whole rest of that time, because it was just kind of surreal to put it all together finally and go on there. And as soon as I did my intro, I think I got the word hi out before Zerka started screaming at me. And then we started going back and forth, and I got him pretty good with a couple of jokes.
No, you did. That was good,
yeah, then we went back and forth from there, and yeah, it was just fun, man. It was a lot of fun. That's when your hard work comes together and you see some success out of it. It's always nice.
No, that is good. Well, like it's actually quite good to hear sort of like the excitement sort of build up, and it's sort of, I didn't realize there was that much prep actually going in, like the hour. You have to sit there like an hour before everything goes live. It was sort of everyone's just
well, if you think about it, his intros usually run about 40 minutes, because he's got Moo that does the DJing, and then he talks for a little bit,
Yeah.
and you're supposed to get there like 10 to 20 minutes early. So he usually starts around 5, and you're usually in the pier in by about 3:50ish. So.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, that was really interesting. But I've got a question because we had some stuff planned, but didn't get past producers. But that's fine. That's all good. I have one question. I want to know. I've got a line of we got a couple of phrases here, and I want you to guess of which one of these did you not say.
Okay.
So we've got here.
Oh God.
So, Mr. Clint, which of these phrases have you not said? So we've got, I puked all over myself. My mum's going to be so pissed. All I want is more internet wisdom. I think that's some space metal back there, because my fucking hand hurts. And I got kicked out of the Y for shitting in the women's bathroom. So, Mr.
Would
Clint...
be the internet wisdom one. 100%. Internet wisdom one's the one I haven't said.
10 more points. Well, 10 more points.
Yeah.
10 more points if you can guess who said it.
All I want is some more internet wisdom?
Yep.
Is it a just chatting personality?
Yep.
I'm gonna go with Zerka.
Correct.
Okay.
But even with like some of those phrases, so like for those who don't know, maybe even just go through some of these things, maybe some of these stories. Like, how did you get like? What was the story with getting kicked out of the women's bathroom? If it was, if that actually happened, I don't know.
Oh, so the concept was pretty simple. It was pretty basic. I'm a bigger guy. I lift a lot of weights. I have a beard. Okay. And with my energy, I can take it to a pretty high level, as you saw in my stream a little bit ago. What you would define there as toxic masculinity, which is a pretty popular phrase to be thrown around in the United States right now. And so what I thought would be funny is if I did a character that was like super toxic masculinity, where I'm ripping my shirt at the gym and I'm screaming into the camera where I'm like slobbering on myself, but I'm screaming about women's rights and respecting women. So it's super toxically masculine, but the message is super anti, toxic masculinity. So I thought the contrast would be funny. And at one point during one of the streams, I just randomly said the reason that I'm not at the Y. Somebody asked me why I don't go to the YMCA, and I said the reason that I'm not at the YMCA is because I got kicked out for shitting in the women's restroom. I'm not sure why I said that. It never actually happened, but I thought it was funny, and then I just rolled with it.
No, fair enough. It was a good moment to watch. I was like, this is some high quality content right here. And last thing I want to end on, and usually with this one doesn't go to radio, but I like to ask this one with certain guests, especially the more sort of politically savvy inclined ones, like yourself. So it's a hypothetical. So let's say, now, everything I'm saying, I'm not endorsing fascism or Nazism and stuff like that, just to get it out there. I got a couple of things there. Not to worry, I'm not saying anything too bad. Let's say you died, you went to heaven, okay? God up there, he's like, you know what? Nazis had it right all along. They were right from the beginning. Now, Clint, I like what you do. I like what you say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you back to Earth. Now, you have the opportunity now to either let everyone know the truth of the world, and you can come back up to your heaven when you die again, or you don't say anything, but when you die, you go to hell. And the thing is, as soon as you let one person know the truth, everyone in the world knows it's the truth. So it's not like you can only tell certain groups and stuff like that. So once it's out there, it's out there. Once it's not, it's not. So, what would you do?
This tattoo that I have on my arm is Hungarian. It says, die on your feet, not on your knees. It's something my uncle used to yell at me all the time during football practice and stuff. I would never accept that as a truth. I would never accept the extermination of specific people, a genocide of specific people based on anything as being something that I'm going to preach to people as a truth. So if I go to heaven and God tells me to do that, I'm going to tell God to suck my dick. is what I'm gonna do. That's just how I view it. I've never endorsed hate on any specific sect of people for any reason whatsoever, and I think it's a fucking travesty that happens. So if I were to die and go to heaven and talk to God and he told me all that, I would just rather just go hang out in hell, dude.
Well, that's where all the fun people would be anyway.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you've got to figure if I've got to spend any more time with a genocidal maniac entity floating in the clouds, like, I'd want to kill myself anyway, to be honest with you. So,
no, that's fair enough. It's actually quite interesting, sort of hearing the responses, because every time I get a different response to it, which is really interesting. Because I expect sort of people to be sort of more like, hell no, I'm not going to do it. But then sometimes you have people like, you know what, maybe, and you're like, oh fuck, okay.
I've just always subscribed to the theory that I'm not a very religious person, so I just always try to do the best that I can to be the best person that I know how to be and treat other people the way that I want to be treated and see how it goes from there. So a question like this for me sucks anyway, because I don't really believe that there's a God floating around up there necessarily, but if there was and he asked me to go promote a genocide, I would definitely say fuck off. So,
well, I think one of my favorite responses I've got from someone is a guy said he would happily skip his gay ass into hell, and I think that's a sort of good way to sort of go from there with that one.
Yeah, definitely fitting for Pride Month.
Hell yeah. But anyway, I know you're tired, so we'll leave it there with everything. So thank you, Mr. Clint, for joining us today. And for those people who don't know who you are and what you do, and those people are severely misinformed if they don't, where can they find you, and how can they sort of interact with you and do things with you?
You can find me on Twitch at Clint1717 or Instagram ClintK55, either one. You send me a message or something, I try to do my best to get back to you. Just one thing to remind everybody is everything's kind of happening in waves right now, so I'll get like 100 messages at once. So sometimes it might seem like I'm ignoring you, but I'm gonna try my best for as long as I can with this to make sure that I do right by everybody who hits me up with an actual valid thing to say. So if you guys want to get a hold of me, either of those two options is a great way to do it. Yeah.
Well,
thanks for having me.
No problem. And anyone watching this, make sure you go down to the descriptions down below. All the links will be down below for Clint, as well as checking out the Discord, the Twitter, the Facebook, YouTube, whatever. Even the Twitch if you want to go to that far. But anyway, thank you, Clint, for coming onto the show. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and best of luck for everything in the future.
All right, thanks a lot, Ryan. I appreciate it. Have a good night.